You and Your Young Child, a program of information and services available for you and your child from prenatal to age 5. You and Your Young Child has been brought to you in part by Minor Family Dentistry and by the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. Minor Family Dentistry would like to bring you the following dental health tip. It's recommended to have a dental checkup no later than your child's first birthday. An adult should brush for a young child and monitor older children's brushing to ensure a good job is done. Flossing should start when teeth are touching. Minor Family Dentistry wishes you good dental health. Families, including children of all ages, are welcome. Minor Family Dentistry, 1010 Downing and Hayes. Find them in the Next Tech directory.
So, you think you have skeletons in your closet? Come to Sternberg Museum, where we let our skeletons out of the closet.
Hello, and welcome to You and Your Young Child, the program devoted to early childhood. My name is Dana Stanton, and I'm the coordinator of the West Central Kansas Smart Start Grant. And with me today is Terry Wilson. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Dana.
Now, first of all, Terry, tell us what organization you work with and what do you do there?
Okay. I work for Early Childhood Connections and through USD 489. And I'm a coordinator there, and I work with children from prenatal through 5.
Mm-hmm. I think some people might not know that Early Childhood Connections is formerly Head Start. We have a new name there, right?
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about today is fire safety and some tips for parents to help teach their children about fire safety, correct?
Yes.
Now, do you know what? There's a program, I think the name is Play Safe, Be Safe, but what is some of the background that started this program?
Okay, it started across the nation, and it was on things that we can do to help children to be safe, because Kansas was targeted earlier because it was had one of the highest rates of incidences with children in fires.
Oh, so we had lots of kids with fire problems, and I'm assuming it's accidentally starting fires.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, what kind of things go on in the program? What kind of tips can you offer parents?
Well, some of the things that we want to do would be to, we have misconceptions about children and fire. First of all, that they know not to stay away from things, but they don't. They may know it, but they just go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's pretty. Now, and that's interesting you would say pretty, because it's also gender differences there. And females often think of pretty in watching the fire dance. Mm-hmm. And boys, and I'm not being biased at all, but boys like the explosion.
Mm-hmm. They like firecrackers and things that go boom. Mm-hmm. And girls, the pretty candle. And that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even adults tend to, still follow that pattern. So I think that's interesting. Mm-hmm. One of the things that when we're talking about children from 3 to 5, some of the things you can do first is be a good role model. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we know that the child, okay, we have a lighter, we have matches, we have candles, they're going to leave them alone, and that's the misconception, that they don't, because they're interested in them. You can put up your lighters, you can put up your matches, and think about your child, because you know your child better than anyone. Where can't they get in your house? Because we know they crawl.
Yeah. That's not very many places, yeah.
And it isn't, and so we just need to be really careful about that. And fire is really part of our culture in ways, because there are a lot of different places where we do have fires. Like a lot of people have candles in their homes, and we celebrate birthdays by blowing out the candle. Sometimes that's the first experience children have with an actual fire. and it's positive, it's interesting. We go camping, we have barbecues, and all that can be balanced with what we can do to help children be safe, and then what we can do later. One of the things that we like to talk about are people's stories. And Dana, do you have a story about your earliest memory of a fire?
Well, and I have to say, this is a bad memory. We lived in a very small town. It was 4th of July, neighbors with a pop bottle rocket. And it started the wheat field. We lived right across from a big wheat field, and it started that wheat field on fire. And I remember that whole day, packing up our belongings, being scared to death. And I would see firemen rush in, and I would try to keep track of that fireman to see if he came out. And I was probably 4 or 5, but I think that gave me a pretty healthy fear of what fire can do at a really early age. So I'm probably a little more vigilant because of that, because I have that memory of thinking our house is gonna burn down. So and that was a horrible thing, but in my mind it impressed on me at a young age. Fire's dangerous, and I'm also scared of fireworks because of that too. So that's something that one of my earliest memories.
And we hear stories all the time about children playing with, you were afraid of your home being burnt, and sometimes children don't realize what it can do. And they may take the matches and go into a closet. I worked years ago with a family, and that's what they did. They just went in the closet and started the fire, and then, it was not a good outcome.
Now you brought some handouts and I see some firefighters and things like that. Show us those.
Okay, one of the things when we're teaching children about fires, that we want them to go to the fireman. And this is Fireman Dan. And then he has clothes. And one good thing about when you talk about, we want children to know that firemen are people. And so you want them in plain clothes. So if you go down to the fire station, you'll see some in plain clothes and some with their fireman clothes on. And then this is to put it on. And then you can talk about each thing as you go. One of the things that might be scary for children is that that they hear that noise of the mask, because it does make a noise.
We lost Fireman Dan's coat, but that's okay. Keep going.
Anyway, that noise of it, but if they have the experience of it before, then they aren't as afraid. Because the main thing, we want them to teach them to go to the fireman. And that's just a simple concept as it seems. And then the other thing is, this little game shows what is safe and what is not safe. And if it is not safe, then you would put on the little X like this. But if it is safe, then you put on the star.
Happy star.
So anyway, so that's what we would do with that. And then, there are many things that we can do, but one of the main things, as I said before, is to model to your children and then talk about it. This is a little card, and it talks about the fire truck. And these are things when we see the fire truck all the time in Hayes. And you might say, oh, where do you think the fire truck might be going? Or, can you make the sound that the fire truck makes? And just to talk about those, and then talk about how a fire truck goes to fires quickly and to help people be safe. Sometimes I think as parents and grandparents and caregivers, we forget to talk to our children about common things we see every day, because we see them all the time, and they're just part of our life. And so
we're going to have to wrap up now, but probably it goes fast, but probably the most important thing is parents and grandparents, talk to your kids about fire, the dangers, and everything that goes with that, so they're aware that it can be dangerous.
And to make it a learning experience, and not that they're fearful of it, but that they learn from it.
And respect it.
Yes, and to have your fire safety drill at home with your family, and put up your fire detectors and use them. So those are just a few things.
All right. Thank you so much, Terry. You've been watching You and Your Young Child, the program devoted to early childhood. Parents, remember, you are your child's first and best teacher. Thank you.
Thanks for watching You and Your Young Child, a program of information and services available for you and your child from prenatal to age 5. You can watch the program weekdays in the noon and 9 o'clock hours. You and Your Young Child has been brought to you in part by Minor Family Dentistry and by the Sternberg Museum of Natural History.